right, and here we are for the last part of croissant making. So this went into the refrigerator to rest for an hour after the second turn, the book fold. Okay, so we have our, that's a good view right there, 4 layers right there. That was our book fold, our middle turn. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and do the third and final turn. After that, you have a complete dough, and it can go into the refrigerator to rest, and then you can roll it out and shape it into your croissants, cut it and shape it into your croissants or morning buns or whatever you want to make. Or the finished dough can actually be wrapped up really tightly, labeled, dated, and stored in the freezer, maybe 3 to 5 months. Typical recipes, this is a one whole recipe of dough that we're working on right now, and typical recipes to shape the croissants, to make, for example, 8 to 12 croissants, depending on how big you cut them, call for a half brick of dough. So this dough will make quite a few croissants. Okay, so I have my dough with my second turn completed here. I am going to roll it back out to my template size. I'm going to expand my rectangle. So just like we did before, starting in the middle, rolling in both directions, giving it a quarter turn so I know it's not sticking. My butter got a little bit cold in the fridge, but it's still gonna be delicious. So keeping in mind that this is definitely a dough to make, if you like it, more than once. Definitely something to practice with. Every time you make them, you will get a little bit better and better at the techniques for the laminating and the rolling, and you'll get those flaky layers down without much fuss or muss. So it's actually not particularly complicated. It's just very time consuming. And that's the thing to remember, is to give yourself plenty of time in which to make these, because you need to allow for resting in between each turn or each fold. If you notice, again, I know I said this before on a previous segment, if you notice your dough shrinking back on you, it means that the gluten has overdeveloped a little bit and it needs to rest. So you can see when you get kind of close that what I meant by my butter got a little bit cold is that you can see, instead of being a solid sheet of butter underneath this thin layer of dough, that it is actually kind of chunking up a little bit. So it means that the dough, instead of spreading neatly underneath the layer of dough, is kind of breaking up and moving out. Still lots and lots of butter in these, still going to be delicious. And temperature in the kitchen is a huge thing. It's hard to manage. That's why sometimes when you go to bakeries, you'll notice that they actually have, if they make a lot of croissants, they actually have a refrigerated croissant room and mechanical dough sheeters, and they can control the temps, and they're better. And the sheeters are nice because they're stronger than my arms are, at least. All right, definitely have the length. I just need to get a little bit wider, and we're going to complete that third and final turn. I want those corners to square off a little bit. Perfect. So I'm just going to roll the corners out a little bit more. They're a little thicker on the edges. Push out my dough where I want it to be. And you can see it starting to shrink back a little bit. So when I pull on it, there's all those gluten strands and it's shrinking. There we go. That means it needs to rest. So at this point, you can let it rest. Again, I would recommend letting it rest overnight in the fridge. So third and final fold. I forgot to turn the ringer off on my phone. I apologize for that. Okay, and that is the business letter fold again. 1 and 2. All right, and that is your finished dough. 3 turns, nice and smooth, and then it goes back into the fridge to rest overnight, and then I'll show you shaping.